What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Down on the Island presentation from Down Once More Pod. I'm your host, Matt, and okay, this may be the most fired up, I literally stood up and said, oh shit, at the end of this episode. So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about what happened. I'm recording this now. It just hit 9. Voting officially opened. I'll talk about it at the end. I don't know how to vote. I legitly don't at this point. I have to say, kind of messed up for the producers and everything to have us vote on rank how you rate people like most to least likely. Today there was a special 2-hour vote open, like which girl would you most like to go on vacation with, which boy do you think has the best vibes. Messed up that we did that rating and ranking prior to the end of tonight's episode. I regret some of my decisions and choices, and I may regret how I vote. I'll make a decision, discuss that by the end of the night. I don't have many points from the main part of the day. The drama tonight was the game, which I doubted at the end of last night's episode. I'm like, really? We're going to have the Islanders share their tea and just anonymously get things off their chest. We're going to share messages that way instead of revealing tweets from America. I have to tip my cap to the producers. This is what this fucking villa needed at this point. This just cemented to me that these connections are rough. This group is rough. So many of them hate each other. We have the little group of Sierra, Alondria, and Shelly that fan favorites at the beginning, and I feel like as time has gone, people are souring. We're seeing more things and not vibing with it. The only thing that really happened with the day is Amaya pulled Zach for a chat, talking to him about how he didn't talk to her at all yesterday and kept talking to the guys. She kept kind of interrupting and adding more to the question as he was going. She's a little bit worried. She wants to genuinely feel what she's doing wrong and try to make him aware of her feelings. I respect that. Zach, almost every conversation he has, I feel like does the exact wrong thing and doesn't know when to just shut up or what to do or how to move properly. We had at the end of the episode when we talk about some of the stuff from the game, but man, it was wild. If you hear explosions, don't mind it. It's almost 4th of July, and so people are lighting their money on fire already. So I'm not in a war zone. I am in Lincoln, Nebraska, and as far as I know, it's safe and just fireworks. But Alondria telling Sierra she's not done exploring with Taylor, think there's still something there. I get it. Grayson talking to Iris about her connection with Pepe, saying that she feels that he's just pulling back. And then cut with Pepe telling the boys they hasn't really been feeling that spark with Grayson. It's not a her thing. He's just not feeling that. And he's been thinking about Hannah the past 3 days. That makes sense. That makes sense why we haven't seen many of their conversations up to this point. I get it. A text goes out saying, hey, you have postcards, get things off your chest, share your honest opinions about other Islanders. This is your opportunity. It's up to you whether you sign it or not. Now, we didn't get to see everyone read postcards. I'm not sure if that's because everyone didn't have postcards. There's a couple of times I think there may have been some creative editing, but I have to say, well, I'll save it till the end. Started out Austin up there, Andrina said, I don't know how you've made it this far. You don't give any girl effort. She said, I thought was interesting because Jaden kind of said, no, he gives effort and defended him. Nothing really exciting there. But Andrina said the reason she did it was because the kind of, I almost said threesome, but the triangle between him, Ace, and Shelly. Ace was putting in all this effort. It didn't seem like Austin was. I thought it was interesting because she's bringing up stuff that happened well before her time in the villa. So thought that was interesting. Nothing really exciting else with Austin. Sierra's, they had from someone to both her and Nick saying, do you know how not quiet you are in the bedroom? kind of laughed it off. A little jokey one. That was one of the more lighthearted ones of the night. But then Pepe wrote one to Sierra, Shelly, and Alondria saying, I don't understand why you chose to send Hannah home, essentially saying the logic doesn't make sense. And this is where Sierra lost me. And I said it when I recapped that episode 2. She just kind of doubled down on, well, I feel like Iris had something budding with TJ and Amaya hadn't had a chance and had been dealt an unfair hand. And meanwhile, Hannah had a chance to explore 2 connections and she was very lucky for that. And she's like, I feel like you said you wanted to explore, but then you just went tunnel vision after you and Hannah started coupling up. I don't love that answer. I think it's the reason is sending people home because they have connections is stupid. You can't get all meh about someone locking in when Alondria and Taylor had locked in before Casa and no one had problems with that. Ace and Shelly, even though she was coupled up with Austin, that's who Ace's attention and focus was on from the beginning. So I don't know. The whole thing that I just over that explanation. I felt like Sierra was getting more defensive than Pepe was. I didn't feel like he was necessarily like attacking from what we saw. And she just kept getting like defensive and upset. Pepe was being respectful. I felt like get to it at the end. I'm talking about who I'm going to vote. Amaya was up next. This one just made me sad, man. I think Amaya, yes, she is fiery sometimes. Yes, she interrupts people. Yes, she sometimes gets worked up and upset about things that maybe she's going to the next level. But it's just like Sierra told her at the end, is like, that's who you are. You know who you are. Don't let people make you feel like shit for that. But it started off lighthearted. From Chris said, she swears she doesn't snore, but she wakes me up from it. But then fucking Austin said, you cry more than needed and move too fast for everyone. And then I felt so bad for her with that. She started crying, saying, it's not my fault. I'm a sensitive gangster. And then like Nick and other people like kind of cheering and encouraging her for that. And then she says like, everything I've been through, I view it as a strength. And then Austin just saying, this episode, people, Austin kind of explained some of the things, and then Ace chimed in, which I kind of wondered if it was Ace had written her a card too, and they edited it where it was like he was chiming in for Austin's. Because if he just wildly chimed in and is like, well, you just do too much with the babe thing, dude, shut the fuck up. You just don't need to add on at this point, and it's not like a pile on. And then after that, when like, shout out to Brian. I gained some respect for Brian in this one too, because he kind of jumped in and said, hey, coming from like a Hispanic household, that's what people call like babe, mi amor, things like that. So like, you're telling her to meet you halfway, you have to meet her halfway too, bro. So respect Brian on that, calling it out. And then fucking Zach just had to chime in too and said he thinks she does too much. And good for Amaya kind of standing up is like, you had all day to talk to me and say this to me, and you're choosing now to do it in front of 20 people? Like, fuck you. No, I'm done. And then she left crying, and I don't blame her. It fucking broke my heart, man. She's just out here being herself. And have I said that there are times where I feel like she's a bit extra? Absolutely. Am I gonna fucking berate the person and pile on? No. But it's just like, it may not be my cup of tea, but I'm not gonna shit on her for being that kind of tea. I don't know. It was wow. I felt so bad for Amaya in this moment. And then next up was Pepe. He was asked if he was just playing it safe because it was clear he didn't like Grayson as much as he liked Hannah. Kind of felt bad for Grayson in that moment, but we didn't hear who this one was from. I kind of wonder if it was from Grayson. Everyone was chiming in saying, and Grayson made a comment about like, well, if you're not as into it, then you just need to set me free. I just got here, and making it that I don't know. They haven't shown anything with Pepe saying she can't explore and that she's not free. So I don't know where all of that was necessarily coming from. Pepe just said, like, I try to move respectfully. I'm not making a big deal. I'm kind of done talking about it. I didn't feel like he was upset or mad. He was just seeing it was going in the cycle and getting worked up, and things were getting not what he was saying, was getting taken out of context. And he's just shutting that shit down. I respect that. He was telling people earlier, like, should he have had a conversation with Grayson earlier? Maybe. But honestly, Pepe's my favorite guy right now, but I'm not voting for him to stay just because I don't think he wants to be there anymore. Like, I feel like he's respectful, how he was honest with Andrina the last episode when he's like, nah, I don't want to, like, kind of shutting her down with exploring the connection because he wasn't feeling it and didn't want to give her false hope or do that to Grayson. I respect that. And so I don't think he wants to be there. I don't think he'll necessarily find someone else in the next week and a half. And so I think I don't want him to stay there if he doesn't want to be there. So I'm not voting for Pepe, even though he probably is my favorite guy right now. Next up was Ace. And this whole thing, I was already a little bit on the fuck Ace train. And then last night's episode, I'm like, I kind of felt for him a little bit because I'm like, Shelly's not seeing the point that he's making about why it would feel different. Like, yeah, he's making out people in the challenge, but she's trying to actually explore an emotional connection to him, and with Chris. And Ace just seems to me like one of those people where the emotional is more important than the physical. Now, is he still going to get jealous, and was he still butthurt about her going back to Chris twice? Absolutely. But I do think that kissing in a challenge versus trying to emotionally explore a connection with someone are two very different things. So a little bit of sympathy. The problem that I had is he has been saying, like, viewing it as a competition with Chris, saying I don't lose and making it about him. And that's the part where I'm fucking out on. And this pissed me off. The first question was, if you and Shelly are so strong, why haven't you closed things off from Maya? And I think it kind of gave me the vibes of Maya thought she was kind of doing her girl a favor, like, hey, I'm going to get him out here and get him on blast saying this, when I don't think it was necessarily how it's been. What we've seen, I don't think it's necessarily Ace that doesn't want to close things off. Shelly keeps saying that, but we haven't seen him really explore people after Coco went home. He explored Coco and Casa and chose Shelly. But I don't know. Like, he's giving more vibes, and he even said in his conversation with Shelly, like, I'm trying to get moving closer to closing things off, and I just don't feel like we're there. So that part kind of sided with him. But this next part is when I got pissed. Austin wrote one that basically said what he said with Jeremiah earlier. He feels like people suck up to him, don't stand up to him, and Jeremiah was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. And Ace is like, well, what do you mean by that? He just got so defensive and angry and Austin was like, hey, you're a strong leader. People who don't stand up to you. With Jeremiah, felt like you were damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, no matter what he did, it was wrong to you. And you just had a problem with it regardless. Ace, like, interrupts and goes to Andrina. He's like, do you feel like Jeremiah came on strong when he came there? And she's like, yeah. And Ace is like, see? That's right. That's what I was saying. It was the same thing with the love bombing shit and just getting so defensive and deflecting. And it pissed me off. Andreas didn't say, like, she got put on the spot there. She didn't say, like, he came on too strong. If you go back and watch those times, she was really feeling that connection and really disappointed when Jeremiah left. So that pissed me off. And then Ace just got defensive, which he turns it then on Austin, being like, ooh, you're saying these things, but then you weren't straight up with Amaya, because he knows Amaya's a fucking sweetheart and people care about her. And then it seemed like he was trying to then make Austin the bad guy, which I said in that moment, Austin was fucked. He should have been honest with Amaya, and that pissed me off. And I don't love Austin. I'm coming off like an Austin defender right now. By no means am I an Austin defender. I think Austin should have left long ago. But Ace deflecting and turning this into that whole thing, and then just saying things that, yeah, Austin was fucked up for doing, but when Amaya's already had a rough night, these are things that are just gonna hurt her more. And then she is chiming in and then going after Austin, and then Austin turned and kind of got pissed at Amaya, which was fucked up. Like, you can't blame her for being upset in that moment, dude. Just calm the fuck down. These people don't know when to shut the fuck up. And it's great for television, but it made me hate almost everyone in this. And then, so yeah, Ace just pissed me off and how he handled that. It was all just textbook, like deflecting, making it about other people. He was getting like angry about it. And I didn't, it was all just trying to justify it and prove a point. He didn't seem like he was respectfully addressing things. Huda and Pepe were some of the, like, I didn't expect Huda to be one of the ones that handled reading the cards the best. Now there's a part where she got pissed a little bit, but like for the most part, she is frustrated, but she didn't fly off the handle. I was impressed with Huda this episode, and I am not a giant Huda fan. So next was Shelly. First one was, I don't understand why you want boundaries set for challenges for us both, but then want to explore other people. From Ace, he did sign his name, so respect to that, but his, like, this whole thing, and he's just going off like, you want boundary set for us, meanwhile you're exploring him, and I'm just having to sit here. And then Sierra kind of defending Shelly a little bit. This Iris, it showed her just one time just kind of shrinking down in her seat. That was me in the moment. It was awkward. I felt like people saying things towards their couples in this is just fucked up. You are in a couple with them. You are supposed to be communicating, having conversations, and for this to just be like a thing to air your shit out in front of everyone. And Ace was like trying to get everyone. He's like, am I wrong for that? And almost no one was saying anything. He's like, I'm not fucking getting in the middle of this. And then Ace, this is another one. He just kind of made it about him. And he's like, well, what do I look like letting boundaries be set while she's exploring? It just so concerned with how it looks for him, and more just feeling like, hey, I don't get to go have fun and I get boundaries. Meanwhile, she gets to explore. Again, kind of fucked up that she's wanting to. It's not fucked up that she wants to explore. I get her wanting to explore, but the way and when she's getting upset, like, I don't know, whatever, made me mad. Ace and Shelly dropped way down in my book this episode. They did last episode too. But another one, why haven't you and Chris had a convo since Casa and not followed through on like going to explore things from Brian? This, I felt like both Shelly and Chris got a little bit defensive. It was just a weird situation. Shelly, this entire time, and when Chris was up there too, was giving vibes, and during Huda's questions, she's pissed that Chris isn't going after her and giving more effort now that they're in the villa, which you didn't pick him. You chose Ace, which granted he didn't pick you anyways either. There were some other comments made that did make it seem a little bit more like maybe they knew what was happening before going into that recoupling. Discussions had been had, but I don't know. Like, it gave that Shelly was mad at Chris for not putting more effort into her in the villa. Like, I truly was getting the vibes that Shelly was more interested in Chris than she was in Ace during every conversation that happened this episode. The next one said, do you remember saying it's just a challenge? I thought you and Ace were still open. There was no name, but then Huda claimed it, and Shelly just got defensive, upset, saying, I only remember saying it's just a challenge when it was Bombshells coming in and you'd want to tweak out on Bombshells, and I was just trying to calm you down and things like that. Yes, Huda was freaking out on Bombshells, so that is valid. Wanting to calm her down in that moment when she's like, I want to kill her, blah, 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 things like that. That's fair. However, it sounded like Huda maybe did a little too much in the challenge. Oh, one thing from earlier, Huda and Nick are talking. I think Nick pulled her and wanted to talk and get her side about the challenge. And he said he thinks she did too much. And she's like, yep. And she took accountability for it and said, yeah, I know I overstepped. I haven't talked to Shelly yet. I don't think she wants to talk to me. So I'm just trying to give her space. And Huda straight up said, I take full accountability. And Nick said when he was having him and Sierra and Iris and TJ were eating breakfast together, and Nick told him, he's like, yeah, I talked to Huda. She took full accountability for it. No, she fucked up. I think she's moving differently. And I do. Like, I do think Huda has been moving differently, and she has grown on me a bit more. She's not my dead last anymore. But this whole thing, Huda then at the end, they were going back and forth some, and Huda's like, all I want is your forgiveness, and if you don't want to give that to me, that's fine. And Ace is over there making a face, and Shelly is like, I'm done with this, and left, pretty much. I made me mad. Then Huda's up, and the first one is like, I feel like Hannah was robbed of her Love Island experience while you should have been dumped from the island twice. Signed by Nick. And dude, talk about saying it with your fucking chest. And I mean, he made it clear to her. He voted for her, and even their conversation earlier in the episode, he said, he called her out, thought she should have been dumped. He voted for her twice. He did it to her face during the dumpings. So I get that. I don't feel like this was necessarily something you need to throw in here. It's been addressed. His feelings of that are known. And when Hannah ended up going home, that wasn't Huda's fault unless she was influencing that vote. Huda wasn't in the bottom three. She was on the chopping block to go home. So I felt like it was unnecessary from Nick. Huda, instead of crashing out over it, just said, I feel like I've grown a lot in here. I said I was going to go into Casa and fully explore things. I think I did that. And all the Casa boys saying, yeah, she pulled everyone for chats. She was doing that and defended her. And I kind of respected that as well. Then the next was, do you think you've been a girl's girl when it comes to Chris and Shelly's relationship? And then if you're going to preach about being a girl's girl, you should practice what you preach. Your intentions are actually selfish. Own it up. And this was from Shelly. And it was just, Shelly kept calling out and saying that Huda said, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. And saying, I don't care. Do it for yourself. Like, don't keep saying and acting like you're doing me a favor, bringing Chris in here. And Huda's like, I was interested in him too. It was genuine. I wasn't just doing it for you. And I've been constantly telling Chris to explore Shelly if he wants to. And Chris confirms it. And then this is what pissed me off and started making me turn on Alondria. Because I like Alondria. But she's like, well, maybe you need to air it out and people need to know. She's like, people need to know what? And Alondria's like, well, if you're such a girl's girl and you were doing it for Shelly, then why were you and Chris kissing in the speakeasy? And Chris was pissed. Huda was pissed. She's like, I can't kiss someone who I like now. Chris is saying, like, it's not right to just air that shit out. And it's mad disrespectful when I'm sitting here. Like, I haven't been saying anything about it because it's no one's business. If I want to tell someone, I want to have to tell everyone. And I felt like that, it pissed me off. Like, I get it, but like I said, I've said on here, Huda's preaching about being a girl's girl and then does shit like pulling Pepe when Hannah's supposed to be her best friend and she knows how Hannah feels about him and stuff like that. But we're seeing a lot of hypocrisy and two-facedness all around. I feel like Alondria airing that shit out was fucking wild and fucked up, in my opinion. In the context of this, Huda said she liked Chris, and Shelly is coupled up with Ace. She's exploring Chris too, but Chris has been pulling back. He said that to Huda, and he's been showing it with his actions, and I don't feel like he's in the fucking wrong for that. Like, you can make a decision. Made me mad. And then Alondria is just kind of, they're like, why would you say it? Because Chris, and she's like, well, I just feel like it needed to be aired out. If she's going to push sisterhood, then it's fair to come out. And it was fucking awkward, and Huda's like, when I tell you something, it's between us, not for everyone. And that's when Alondra is like, well, I feel like if you're a preach sisterhood, it needs to be aired out. It felt like people were just attacking Huda in this, and that's Huda's just kind of like, yeah, I'm fucking done with this game. And I don't know if she went through all the cards or not, but I felt bad for her too in this moment. I felt like she kind of held her own and didn't get like off the handle. I felt like she stayed relatively calm and respectful. She had been telling Alondra in her conversation earlier, when she did say that her and Chris kissed, she said, he just reassures me and is calm, and that's what I need. And so I felt for her in that situation. Chris was up next, and he just handled things very to the point too. First one, Sierra had like a 3-part thing. She's like, are your intentions with Huda genuine? And he's like, yes. I've told everyone that. I've said it to everyone today. Other people are confirming it. He's like, yes. Next one was, do you just want a spot in the villa? He's like, I could give a fuck. I don't care if I'm here. I could be playing basketball overseas. I'm not just like, whatever. I'll get the fuck out. I don't care. And then for a man who says he knows what he wants, you seem to change your mind quickly. And he's like, no, I didn't. I've been telling Huda and I had a conversation. I said I'm more interested in that, exploring that. And Sierra's like, well, you should say that more then. And it pissed me off. I felt like he said it to his Casa boys. He said it to the other boys, and they confirmed it earlier in it. Just because Sierra's not in on those conversations. Sierra is out on an island with Alondra and Shelly, and so she's missing this. And I get standing up for your girls and wanting to probe and get these questions. I just felt like, I don't know, I didn't love it. And then the next one was, the switch up is insane. If you just wanted to come to the villa, you could have said that, from Shelly. And then she's like getting like, you could have tried more after you came in, put forth more effort. And Chris like, I said I give a fuck if I'm in the villa or not. That's not what it is. Now, I called it out from what we were seeing. It seemed weird because we're all about Shelly, and even the beginning of last night's episode, it seemed that way. But I think there's been stuff we're not seeing. They're there 24/7. That stuff has gone apart, and maybe it is. She chose Ace. She's been focusing on Ace more. Why is he going to sink his time into something she's not interested in? Alondra was up next. And the only one they really showed hers is Clark wrote her one that said, I know you think our connection is just a test and only physical, but it's genuine and real. And Clark kind of explaining, like, my journey, it started later. I'm still here to do the same thing as everyone else, find a connection, build love. And Alondra is saying, like, yeah, I respect you signing your name, but, like, I say the just a test thing about everyone. I say it during challenges, bombshells, everything. I say it, so that wasn't anything towards you. That was it. Nothing with things directed towards her. Pretty chill. And I felt like I respected how Clark handled it in that situation and explaining it and saying it in a respectful manner. Lastly was Taylor. And this was a fucking bloodbath all around. And there's not really any winners from it. First one seemed like it was from Huda. It said, you and Alondra had such a strong connection. How could that change so quickly? And he's like, well, Clark just gave me a different feeling, made me feel like a kid. And Alondra is like, how old are you? And he's like, 25. And he's like, I can't feel like a kid. She's like, no. I felt like that's where I started to get the ick a little bit more. I hate that I just said get the ick. I hate that. I hate myself. But I just I didn't necessarily respect that vibe, and I felt like he's like, I had a different feeling, and so I chose to explore a connection. Next one was from Alondra, and it just said, stand on business and stop acting like a little bitch. Man, maybe it's just me. I get, and I said about Huda, so I'm going to be consistent. I get calling people out. If you feel like you have been disrespected, if you have been wronged, people are switching it up, absolutely call them out on their bullshit. If they're being manipulative, they should be called out on it. However, I feel like you can go about it in a respectful way as well. And so the thing about making the jab, stop acting like a little bitch, saying my notes make no sense from this. I think I was typing too fast and doing typo, saying that he says he cared about her feelings and it doesn't feel like he's trying to explore. and saying like he was ready to dump me. I reassured him every day. He didn't do shit for me. I've been so angry. I asked like, what do you need from me? What do you need for this connection? And you didn't say shit. She tells him, which that is 100% valid and fair. If I said it from the beginning, it didn't seem like that romantic connection or spark. He should have said that to her. If he wasn't feeling her, he absolutely should have communicated it. And I think he was a little too much of a pussy before Casa to actually tell her that like he liked her as a person. There's not a spark romantic connection there. And so Casa was a good out. I do think he has a genuine connection with Clark. I do feel like he seems different with her. And Clark's grown on me a bit. And I have such a fucking hard time with it. He absolutely, it is completely fair to be angry and say he should have manned up and said that shit to her earlier or communicated what she wanted when she was trying. That is 100% fucked up from him on that. So Taylor, though, I respected him kind of standing on business saying, okay, here's the thing. It's my experience too. And I'm here to make a connection. So I'm making moves to make a connection. I'm not moving for you. And I feel like that's valid too. Like, yes, you should still be taking someone's feelings into account with how you are doing that. But I don't know. I respect him saying that. And then the next card closes it out, said, make up your damn mind. And it was from Anonymous. And Taylor, he is obviously kind of fed up from everything that's happened before and just being lit up and the things he's seen this night. He's like, okay, since you all want me to make up my mind right now, I pick Clark. And that's where the fucking episode ended. And like, when he first said, since y'all want me to make up my mind right now, I got fucking giddy. I'm like, this is like that whole thing. That is peak reality TV moment. These producers had to have been fucking rock hard during that because that is perfect. That's what you want. That is going to be the perfect thing for the previously on Love Island to end it going into fucking Thursday's episode. And this is why I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be at my in-laws. I don't know if I am going to be able to swing watching Love Island. I might be watching it on my phone at like 5 a.m. in the morning while everyone else is still sleeping. We'll see. I don't want to wait till Sunday night to find this shit out because I'm gone to Sunday. It's fucked up. So that's where the episode ended. I get people being upset. I get the feelings. I people to feel like the way some people moved and how they did it. Ace slid down the ladder for me. Alondria actually slid down the ladder a little bit, not nearly as much as some others, because I get being upset on it. I don't love how she handled some of the stuff. I don't love that she aired out Huda's shit. I've said it before that there have been multiple instances where she will slip up revealing something like an accident, like, ooh, I didn't know. Like when she goes to Sierra, like, yeah, that was just crazy though that he picked you when he was just making out with her in Soul Ties like 5 minutes before that. And then like, oh, you didn't know that? And then the slip about Huda having a kid in front of Austin, that one I think was a little more innocent, but I don't know. Like this episode was, and I think Taylor said it after they got the text, is just like messy, messy, messy. That's what this episode was. This was the perfect palate cleanser after last night's episode that I felt like was just boring talking, not much happened. The ending of this episode was fantastic. Some of the Islanders sucked. I felt so bad for Amaya in that. So I think Amaya is going to get my vote for favorite girl. Dude, I don't fucking know who to pick for favorite guy. It's so hard because I don't like that Taylor wasn't honest with Alondria from the start. I don't like that. And I think he's not necessarily a super romantic guy because with how him and Alondria, him and Clark be kissing and everything. Hey, maybe that's their own thing, but I don't know how I feel about that. So but I'm worried he's gonna be in the bottom and go home, and I want to keep him and Clark there because the votes for your favorite boy, favorite girl. I feel like I want him and Clark to explore more. I don't love Iris and TJ explicitly, either one, but they're a pretty unproblematic couple right now as far as things in the villa go. Sierra and Nick, like I go so back and forth. I'll really like them, then they'll fucking each do something that makes them drop down a peg for me. So I don't know. I don't love the couples this season. I don't. We'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, do you agree with me? Do you have different opinions? It's okay to have different opinions, but I don't know. Wild episode, the end of it. Respect the producers. Hats off to them. I'm sorry for doubting them. Having the Islanders air out their shit was perfect. Cherry on top. So stay tuned, subscribe, follow, turn on notifications. I'm not sure when the recap of Thursday and Friday's episode will come out to close out week 5. I'll do what I can, but again, traveling, I'm not in control of everything with that. So we'll see. I will be watching them. I will be talking about them as soon as I can. So thank you all. Out 6 a.m. on Wednesday, so tomorrow, because it's releasing Tuesday night, is the regular podcast episode talking about what's coming to streaming in theaters in July. If you're looking for something else to watch to fill that Love Island void once it ends on the 13th, or just on Wednesday night when there's no Love Island episode, check that out, get some recommendations, some suggestions. Lots coming to streaming this month. So thank you, love you, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, all that fun shit. Don't forget to go down once more. Later.